Hi everyone, welcome to Chain Reaction. I'm your host Brad Vani. I'm a non-tech person working in the crypto space since 5 years, and I want to teach other people how easy it is to understand the world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Now, it's been a big myth that Bitcoin has no underlying value, and a lot of people actually believe that even till date. The reason being is no one has really tried to create a Bitcoin, so they don't really understand how expensive it is to mine a Bitcoin. Everything that I say in this video should be pretty much easy to understand since I'm a non-tech person. So let's begin. It's not that hard to grasp. You just need basic understanding of what computers are and how computers function, and how the evolution of cloud computing brought advantages along with it. One of which was the blockchain, or a network of computers that in real time work together in order to settle accounts. If you guys haven't checked out our previous videos, there's a complete video about what a blockchain is, and particularly how it builds trust in a system, and how it's decentralized and how it can be scaled. So these are the three fundamentals of a blockchain. It's decentralization, the security, and the scalability. A blockchain cannot have all three of them. It has to let go of one. It can always have the other two. So when it comes to Bitcoin let go of scalability, and Bitcoin's blocks are settled in 10 minutes, but it's still better than 24-hour settlements that happen in cross-border transactions across the world today. So 10 minutes is a good bargain if you ask me. For now, we just need to understand that yes, blockchains are ledgers. These ledgers have checkpoints, just how your game saves a checkpoint, and if you die in your game, you can just continue from that checkpoint. Similarly, you don't die here, but these blocks are checkpoints, and each block is linked to the other. Check out the entire video that we've put up. Blockchain basically is a system that is governed by a particular asset. For Bitcoin, the asset is BTC, and the blocks, the miners that help in creating the ledger or keeping the ledger together are honestly working for Bitcoin. Let's say that you are fantabulous at accounts and you think that, okay, there's a new cloud accounting company called Bitcoin, and it's allowing my workforce to contribute to its accountancy. You know how you can open a shop and at the end of the day you settle how much ever money you've made? Similarly, here you could think of your day as 10 minutes. Every day is 10 minutes. A 10-minute settlement every 210,000 days is technically your season. The season basically ends the sort of rewards you're getting, and a new season reduces the rewards by half. So here's the deal. You want to set up this business. You've got some initial capital. So you're like, okay, I'm going to hire a few workers for myself. Let me just try and draw this out. So you've hired 3 workers. That's called one of them Bitmain. The other one can be called Nerd, nerdy guy. And one of them can be called Ant. These are your 3 accountants. They're hired by you. Bitmain has an experience level of 115. Nerd has an experience level of 5. Now, these experience levels are basically how proficient they are, or basically how fast they are at doing their job, right? That's why experience levels, XPs, which in the mining world is called terahash. Ant has a experience level of 70. All of these guys are helping keep together an account of the Bitcoin network, which is a cloud company. The company's terms and conditions are that, hey guys, if you all help in keeping up this network, like an employee of the day, every day, right, which is a 10-minute day, an employee will be selected and given a reward for just being honest and giving their work. And of course, the entire experience level of Bitcoin is the combination of the experience level of all the workers that are working for it. Simple math, right? So I mean, if I have 3 workers, that's my experience level against the entire experience level of those that are running the network. Similarly, if there are other people like me that have their own businesses and want to set up such a structure, and they have maybe their own mining setups of 5 or 10 workers, and all of these workers are essentially doing the same job of keeping the ledger intact, which is basically settling the account every 10 minutes, which is a work day for them. They are essentially just looking at the particular 10 minutes and that's it. So they settle the transactions that happen in every 10 minutes, and that gets added in to the chain, which is your checkpoints. Every transaction that has happened in the 10 minutes gets included Those that haven't get included in the next upcoming block, and it moves from right to left. If you go to Mempool space and check it out, you'll see the live transactions of the Bitcoin blockchain every 10 minutes, along with each and every miner that has mined that. Now, let's just say my workers, my employees, they're working really hard 24/7 for in the 10-minute sphere of things for like months, and they need, I need to feed them as well, right? So now this is coming back into the mining structure. When you are a miner, when you have some of these workers working for you, of course when you have employees working for you as well, you need to feed them, you need to give them energy, right? So that they can work, their brains work, right? So here each miner requires a different amount of electricity in order to keep that same experience level and ensure that maybe give a little more than what they had experienced. Maybe work a little hard, you give them a little more energy, right? So that's where the entire electricity component comes in. So it's like joules per terahash. You'll see the efficiency of your miners, right? Essentially the amount of wattage that you give your miners increases the amount of terahash, because of course you're just feeding them more. Just think of it like that. The thing here is you are going on feeding your guys whether they are earning that Bitcoin or not. You are paying for electricity, you are paying for, I mean, even if they go years without mining anything, you still need to bear the expense of paying them for the experience level. In the first few years of Bitcoin, it was fairly simple. There were very few of these workers, so the distribution was a lot easier. The reward every day was 50 Bitcoin. So every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin was dispersed. And after the first 210,000 blocks, that reward got broken into 25. Whereas the number of workers that people had around the world, they kept increasing in numbers. So a lot of people kept increasing their hash rate, right? Because at the end of the day, the more hash rate you have against the entire network hash, the more probability you have of earning those Bitcoins, right? So if I say hired more workers, or I increase my hash rate to like getting more experienced workers, so there's a chance that my workers are the ones that will mine a block far easier, far faster. Now, what is this mining of blocks, right? Why is it like such a random game? And this is to keep honesty intact. When it comes to computers, right? Computers are like calculators. They don't know how to be dishonest. When they are given a particular problem, they will solve that problem according to logically what that problem is meant to be solving. The only reason or the only way they can be dishonest is, suppose now I have my workers and I'm like, hey guys, why don't you manipulate that ledger and in today's settlement, just put in a few transactions that aren't there. So what happens here is, now my workers are trying to win that block. They want that employee of the day reward. And if I change something in their ledger, all the other workers that are simultaneously computing along with them will be able to recognize that there's something wrong with it and automatically just discard these workers or whatever they say. So the way proof of work operates is, the miners or the computers, they always take the longest chain or the longest checkpoints that have been created by a blockchain, and they will always refer to that data and not any other data. So if I change the data and all the other blocks, all the other miners, workers can recognize that my data is not the same as theirs, it automatically disqualifies me, and my nodes or my computers become dishonest. And dishonest means less incentives, lesser chances of winning that block reward. So in order for me to earn that Bitcoin block reward, I need to ensure that my miners are operating efficiently and honestly, right? So earlier days, the block reward used to be 50 Bitcoins per day per settlement. So every 10 minutes, there's a 50 Bitcoin reward going to a random miner. After the 210,000 blocks, that's the first season, that 50 turned into 25. Another 210,000 blocks, that's another season, it became 12.5, 6.25, And now we're at 3.125. We're at the 5th season right now, and computers are mining these 3.125 bitcoins every 10 minutes. Now you'll see that the number of computers that are competing for this block reward have just been going up over time. And the more the computers go up over time, it just basically means that the network hash rate, right, or the entire Bitcoin network computational power is far, far too high for any one computer to be able to dominate it. Essentially, right, it's just think about it logically. If the entire Bitcoin network hash rate was, say, 2000 experience level, and I had 4 workers, and my 4 workers had an experience level of 100 each, just for easy example's sake, that's 400. Out of 2000, I have 400 of the network hash rate. So my probability is automatically 400 divided by that 2000. There's a mathematical equation to equate how much your hash rate can earn you, and most websites can show you that. But just for rough examples, I'm showing you that, hey, this is my probability. Now, if someone else had about 8 workers, that's double of mine, and all again with 100 each, they would have 800 over the entire hash rate. They would have twice more probability than me every 10 minutes in every day settlement of earning that block reward. But my miners will be honest and work hard because the probability is random and anyone can earn that block reward, right? It doesn't necessarily mean, the probability is more, but doesn't necessarily mean that the one with the most terahash will win. But generally, that's what happens. But now, let's just say, out of this entire 2000, if both of us decide to come together and combine our hash rate and get a 1200, we would almost get every block because we have more than 50% of the entire network hash rate. And this is what we called as a 51% attack. Any node or any mining pool that would have had more than 50% of the network hash rate dominates that network and would be able to just keep minting blocks, can also manipulate. And that is why when you recently saw the news of Marathon and Foundry combining their hash rate power to be more than 50%, the community took off. In fact, I put a post myself that that's not good for the mining ethos. In fact, they should split up and make themselves more diverse so that they keep up the decentralization of Bitcoin and not make it centralized within their mining pools. So essentially, this is exactly how mining works. And when it comes to the transactions that are being collected, it's pretty easy to understand it. Or let's just take the example of a shop or any kind of place that accumulates cash. Even if you go to like any holy place where there are donations that are given out, and you have those mats or an open vessel in which you throw different kinds of notes. People just keep throwing in money there. You could think of that as how transactions are collected on the Bitcoin mempool as well. There are random notes, random denominations, random transactions, all flooding in on the Bitcoin network. And all these computers are doing are just taking them and sorting them out all together, all at once, ensuring the transactions that came in chronologically are all placed and confirmed in 10 minutes. All the computers need to agree on all the transactions in a particular block in order for it to be confirmed. And so that is how the entire difficulty of the network is distributed. No matter how many ever workers or computers enter the space, the amount of time it takes is always 10 minutes. So the network adjusts its difficulty rate in order to make it difficult for those computers to gauge the amount or gauge the block in less than 10 minutes. So essentially, the time always stays 10 minutes, and that is how the security stays high. For example, there have been attempts at hacking blockchains, but as I told you, blockchains are checkpoints, right? If there is any kind of attack, a blockchain could always split itself and have a hard fork. This is stuff people don't really know or talk about, but blockchains are safe from hacks because of things like this. The Ethereum blockchain had a hack in its early years, and the original chain is called Ethereum Classic. What did it do? It just created a whole new, it forked the chain. So the longest chain had a fork, and the hack chain went on to be Ethereum Classic, and we have the Ethereum chain that we have today is the chain that they forked into. And a similar fork also happened when Ethereum changed its consensus from proof of work to proof of stake. Now, proof of work requires these mining devices and electricity and real world expense turning into digital income. But a proof of stake is a digital asset being kept up there as your investment and as your stake in order to power the network. So it's like, instead of me putting up honest computers and having them operate 24/7, I've just given you my money. So I won't be dishonest. If I'm dishonest, you can take away my money. That's the kind of honesty that you're putting in there. But proof of work has its own advantages, which is why it's so dominant as a consensus mechanism. It requires a real world expense like electricity and computational power, which is your computers, your workers that tire out, require maintenance, require to get changed. You need higher experienced workers when the network level increases, so you need to spend money on that. And that's real world expense, which no one really accounts when they think that Bitcoin has no fundamental value. The number of people that are joining this business since 2008 of mining have been just increasing, with institutional level investments coming in. So there is no way that people can discredit Bitcoin having fundamental value, because to create a Bitcoin, it fundamentally costs approximately $80,000 to $90,000 today in 2025. Given the amount of computers that are all working and all competing to get that 10-minute block, to get that one-day settlement for the computers. It's really cool how every 10 minutes, a random computer around the world is just selected and given 3.125 Bitcoin. And that's essentially a good understanding of mining. When it comes to the transactions, all the computers, think of it like this, right? Okay, you've hired your workers. Think of them as 3 kids. Think of them as 3 people with different skill levels. The experienced workers have the ability of counting transactions and guessing the total of your day's settlement faster. So no matter how many ever transactions came in a day, the more experienced workers, they can come to a conclusion on that transaction much faster. So they throw more guesses. And when all the computers say, hey, you guessed it, that's what we all got, that's the computer that gets the block reward, the one that guessed it, right? So the more workers you have, the higher likelihood, the more experience level they have, the higher likelihood, the more the network hash rate increases and decreases, it changes your probability, changes your odds. This is all in all a simple analogy in Bitcoin mining. I hope I helped you understand the basics of what it is and how it works. Essentially, it's nothing more but just a daily business, except instead of you having workers that are keeping your books in order, you have computers that are keeping the books of Bitcoin in order. And the books of Bitcoin are stored on multiple servers, on multiple networks, on multiple computers across the world. So there are hundreds of thousands of copies of the Bitcoin network, and anyone can participate in this business at any time or leave at any time. So it's inclusive for all, and thus you can see that it is a very, very novel and new technology that people are just catching on into. Here, we're trying to make it very easy for people to understand how this technology works. Everyday people can participate in it and try and find a way for their industry to blossom in the Web3 world, in the sphere of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. How blockchains can always operate no matter what kind of obstacles you throw at it. You might have questions that, hey, what if someone matches the network level of the Bitcoin network? Well, it's practically impossible to have that much computational power, even with quantum computing, to reach that amount of network hash rate. The computational power put in by the tens of hundreds of thousands of computers around the world cannot be matched with any one quantum network. No amount of qubits that are available in today's date and age can compare or put up with the Bitcoin network. So in those aspects, we're temporarily quantum resistant, and if you think quantum computing can catch up, well, the Bitcoin network, the algorithm it operates on is called SHA-256, and it can always be upgraded to SHA-512, or just how your memory cards were upgraded. So can this algorithm. The cryptographic puzzle can become even more difficult and would require even more computation to have the same result and earn you the same Bitcoin. Essentially, it's just harder and harder every 210,000 Bitcoin days or 210,000 blocks to earn Bitcoin, as it becomes half with the number of people that put their workers out there to mine it, earn it, just keep increasing. So, yep, thank you very much, and I hope you guys found some fundamental value from this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Do share this with your friends and show them how easy it is to understand crypto. I will keep making these videos, and I will find you on the streets. Cheers, have a good one.